for him as he comes out.
One man, one city, one.
So on the 23rd of March in the year 2020, Nigeria went to sleep. The COVID-19 came without a knock. Everything paralyzed. Everything. Schools were closed. Air, road, seas, markets, hospitals, houses, shops, streets were all deserted because something new, unplanned for, not ready to attend to, came knocking our doors. Subsequently and gradually, the whole world went to sleep. Although the advocates for climate change said that was the best time in the world, the glaciers were happy, climate change was clear, the temperature was the lowest in 3 centuries. But then, they wish it continued that way. If it had continued that way, it will be in an empty world because human beings have to survive. That was the situation then, and it continued to be so in many worlds, including in Nigeria. Although we are physically here, but the pandemic is here. The worst hit after all this crisis was and is still the education sector. When it started, technology came into being. The real definition of power to be was full-blown. Disenfranchisement was clearly defined in the dictionary between the haves and the have-nots in terms of digital literacy. Few days after the lockdown, powers in the West reactivated the technology, and soon enough, classes continued to happen. Children learn at the comfort of their bedrooms. Teachers also take lessons, record preloaded lessons, and they continue to make impact. But what happened in Nigeria? The reverse was the case. We went for sleeping for nothing less than 8 weeks, within which no single class saw the footstep of a single child. Not only the primary schools, not the secondary schools, not even the universities, including adult education learning centers, were all closed because the digital divide made it clear that we were not ready for the pandemic. Although, in terms of numbers, the mortality rate was more from the western part of the world, however, physical, economic, and education mortality was more pronounced in the developing countries, including Nigeria. When the United States counted the first 500,000 deaths, Nigerians still believed that COVID-19 was not real because we were not dying, not knowing that we were going to die through the education system. Sooner enough, the United States unbundled their plan for recovery. A single household owner or a single occupant of a one-bedroom space started receiving nothing less than $1,550 per month. Nigerians had none. Developers of digital contents came into limelight in the developed world. Education cannot wait. Still, Nigerian children were sleeping at home. Many light-weighted people who thought they could not add weight, triple their weight, were sleeping at home. Moms no more wake children in the morning by 7. They also don't care to ask them to go to bed by 9 because they've all been sleeping all day. Education was waiting for them to get support from anywhere. That was the situation. Fast forward, schools were opened, lessons started, social distancing, face masks, nose masks, tranquilizers, mobilizers, sanitizers, whatever you want to call them. Even with that, developed worlds fully activated their system and it continued to work, connecting what rumor says about technology. New Zealand had the best education system then, and indicators of education and learning outcomes still believe that they have one of the best indicators of performance. It's a woman-led country. The best 4 countries that fared well in education then, when the pandemic was so pronounced, were women-led with technology. A day come in Nigeria when the federal government says, we are going to open schools, but then children have to go in a shift. Some in the morning, some in the evening, some in the afternoon, some at home. Lagos State was the first state that quickly saw the need to invite technology. A group of tech companies came in and they quickly mobilized and customized personal computers for children to learn while at home. Magogo community was the first beneficiary. But what happened to other states? While some children learn in their room with a PC, others had to listen to radio for a lesson. That was a digital divide. Although many development partners helped Nigerian states to develop contents and air them in the radio and TV, the digital divide was so clear that the haves and have-nots had their own part. Low-income communities could not procure televisions, so they can no longer see the lessons on the screen. Even more than 35% of low-income communities in Nigeria could not afford a radio set, so they could not also listen to the lessons via the audio. What happened? They remained at home. So when schools were opened and the lesson were activated, it was clear that Nigeria could not withstand the offline system of education service delivery. The fact is, technology has shown it's very clear that we need to go. Mark Zuckerberg mentioned that before the pandemic, he had actually delayed seeing the CEO of Zoom twice. But when the pandemic was full-blown, he had to go looking for the person. He rose to the first 20 richest people in the US. The name Zoom became a household. Even if you are using WebEx, people will say, I'm in a Zoom meeting, but they are using WebEx. Even if you are using a Google Meet, people will say, I'm in a Zoom meeting. Even when you are listening to a recorded meeting, you will say, I'm in a Zoom meeting. So it zoomed our life to focus on technology. It may interest all of us to know that when we continue to produce books, the environment will keep hot season. Produce more books, make the environment hotter, because books are the codomain of trees. You produce books, you cut more trees. The more books in our library, the hotter it becomes. The technology will produce digital content for millions of users. You need physical teachers to train physical students, but you need only one virtual teacher to reach millions of students. When the federal government realized the implication of not having digital content, the Nigerian Learning Passport was unveiled. Sometime this year, it was launched. More than 30,000 contents in different subjects. But the question remains, who would have access to those contents? Only the half but not the have-nots. You need a digital device, handheld device, standalone computer to connect to the sites. So you need a data or a broadband solution. This costs money. Children in the poor communities have never seen light in their 10, 12, 15 and 18 years in life. We need this light to power these devices, even from the solar system. The haves continue to generate more income. In terms of death, even in Katsina, Abuja, Lagos, mentioned, the proliferation was clear. The haves die, they have not survived physically, but they die spiritually. When you go to a store in Abuja, an apple costs 150 naira. That is a meal for a poor person. Many slum areas in Nigeria refuse to believe until today there was anything COVID-19 pandemic, and they didn't die. They did not respect the protocols of social distancing, neither have they washed their hands, but they were only caged in their house because the law was powerful. The people in Asokoro died, people in Victoria Island died, but people in Ojota, people in Yanya did not die. Why? Because their poor natural life is natural. The classy people live on artificial life. Frozen food, processed, chemically inclined drinks are all successive way to death. Back in the UK, an ordinary apple cost a pound or half. A fresh one from the garden costs double of that amount. So the haves will buy the fresh and survive. The have not will buy the chemically inclined and die. The reverse was the case in Nigeria. But even with that, the superpowers didn't care. When it was fully time to reactivate the world, if you go to the US now as if there was no COVID-19, the economy is now full-blown because back in the last 50 years, they've already created a bridge of technology. We haven't had one so far. Our galaxy backbone is down. Israel and India are the main source of broadband technology for Nigeria. We have not yet had a satellite that's stayed in the orbit for up to a year. The last count I know of the Nigerian satellite that crashed, it was the hunters that identified the location of the remnants somewhere in the southwest. That was when Germany was launching the 271 broadband satellites in one planet. So where do we go from here? We are here because of the power of technology. I doubt if any one of us here received a physical invitation by a delivery man to come to this place. The team that worked on this used technology. The team that prepared all of this used technology. Even some of us who paid also paid via the platforms. But here we are talking about education cannot wait for the poor children. Unfortunately, none of the poor children is here, and this message is less likely to reach them because of technology. As bad as the situation is, two things have to happen. Policies have to change to ensure that there is equitable distribution of opportunities within the have and the have-nots. This can only be done through a communal community research. Government alone cannot, will not, and can never do it. Civil societies, philanthropists, financial institutions all need to come on board. Because gun may not be as wherewithal as technology. One bullet for a sword, but poor education for a big, large community. When a child is not able to go to school, is more likely to grow as an adult illiterate, to do whatever the next person asks him or her to do without asking question, and this collectively affect all of us. Currently and in the future, until something is done, none of us here will wake up in the morning in the heart of Katsina State and tell you that I'm following Jibia, Niger Republic border to Zamfara State. Never in your dreamest dream would you do this today. Why? Because the illiterates have taken over the road against any powerful government for now. Technology has actually, but education can change this. When people are fully educated, they ask why, how, and when, and why not this? Because within the environment of academic institution, so many things happened. One, the impact. Northeastern USA has the highest employment opportunities in the world in terms of industries, financial technology, and even digital technology. But 87.5% of all employed people within that region do not have a paper qualification. They all rely on skills. So the new terminology is skills for people for life, not paper documents. Walk into any office, you're looking for a job, and if they ask you, keep the originals and the photocopies separate ways. If they don't exist, who are you? If your papers are seized from you, that they say, come and defend this job opportunity, what are you going to say? Education has actually come to stay and it cannot wait. That is why, in 2015, during closure of the MDGs, unfortunately Nigeria could not achieve the MDGs. Two things happened. A German guy stood in Dakar in Senegal and says, well, we are going to develop the SDGs, but we've used Nigerian manpower to achieve our MDGs in the Western world. He said, anytime a doctor moves out of the country, we are more likely to reduce maternal mortality because of his brain, even when you continue to say the quality of education in Nigeria is at the lowest end. Anytime a skilled laborer, a mason, an electrical engineer is happened to get a visa outside the country, we are more likely to reduce fire incidences and crack up buildings, even when we still say the certificate and the quality in the university is still low. So where does the problem lies? Some of the best doctors in the UK are Nigerians. Saudi Arabia recently crowned a lady one of the best consultants of obstetrician from Nigerian University. But the bottom line is, so where is the problem? I once saw somebody, a colleague, sending a post. He was leaving the country. He said Nigeria is not working. So he's leaving. He's a medical doctor. I tagged him and says, you are the problem. You graduated from Nigerian University. You did your service here in all the quack hospitals, call them whatever. But when it was time to leave, you also wrote all the years of experience from the Nigerian birth system and requested for a job outside the country. For me, you are the problem. A teacher sitting by roadside with my child. Out of the 20 periods per month, he attended 2. And he still had the guts to say that education is not working. Of course, if we have multiple of you, the system will crash. A doctor arrives hospital by 9 instead of 8 and leaves by 1. He or she sees only 5 patients. Even if the patient-doctor ratio is high, but significantly 5 out of the 200 innocent dying patients, in the end he will say, health system is not working. Of course it will not work, my brother, because of you. Education of quality will make you think that beyond what the government pay me, my work should tell me that I am making impact. So there was a story of a young man who was standing by the beach. Water was flowing. As the water returns, it leaves fishes crawling to survive. Let us assume Nigerians are the fishes. One young man was picking a fish, throwing it back to the river. Let's say you are the one making impact. Then another person by the side, and as usual, Nigerians with their social media handle trying to go live when there is crisis. The man says, young man, you are saving lives. How long will it take you millions of fishes? He says, as you speak, I'm saving another life. If you stop the complaint and join me, we'll save double life. If the people holding the phones and saying we are mad will also drop the phones and pick double fishes, we will save our life. I hope I have saved your life.